What's up everybody, it's Carl, aka Carl Drum Tech, and today let's talk about the one thing that every student has heard and the thing that every instructor has said. Cue the music. Alright, if you guys are finding me for the first time, make sure you hit that subscribe button, it's the red button down below that says subscribe. That way you are notified anytime I put out a new video in regards to marching arts, marching bands, drum lines, inner percussion, drum corps, all that good stuff. Make sure you subscribe, I'm getting good at that, so you don't miss a single upload. Now also make sure that the notification bell is ringing, that way for sure you'll be notified anytime I put out a new video. So subscribe, make sure that notification bell is ringing, and let's get to the video. Okay, so the one phrase that every student has heard and every instructor has said is, there is a difference between practicing and rehearsing. Now, if you have indeed heard that phrase, what does that mean to you? This is what it means to me, okay? What it means to me is that when you practice at home, all right, you're learning your parts, you're learning your beats, you are, doing your reps, you're woodshedding, all that stuff, right? You're literally, doing everything you can to learn every exercise, every piece of music, just to make sure that you have it down, so that by the time you get to rehearsal, which is the time where everybody gets together, right, where they have learned their parts, ideally, right, you come together and you rehearse together. So it's like, the instructor has a chance to, make everything fit, make everything line up, talk about dynamics, talk about how you're supposed to play it, all right? But if you are practicing during rehearsal, right, if you're learning your beats during rehearsal, then you're not gonna get much done because it's like not everybody has their music learned, and everybody has to spend time learning their music on their own. Nobody has, not every section has the same parts or similar parts, and then it just takes time. And it's like you're not as productive as if you actually took the time at home, right, where you practice your parts, you learn your parts, get it down first before, and then get the reps in, right, to where you can actually play the stuff that you maybe couldn't play before, and then you come together and then you put it together. Does that make sense, right? So it's really important that every student understands that concept, and maybe yes, like I said, you've heard it before, but maybe you've kind of, I don't know, maybe you didn't always listen to your instructor when they say that. Are you that person who shows up to rehearsal, hasn't practiced, hasn't done the work, right, and then you show up to rehearsal and it's like it's not as productive because you're holding everybody back, or everybody else is holding each other back because they didn't practice at home? Does that make sense, right? So it's really, really important that you understand the difference between practicing and rehearsing. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people who understand this concept and has heard this concept. I get it, right? So if you are at that higher level where you totally understand that idea, you can take it to another level, right? Can you think of ways to be even more productive when you practice, so that the instructor literally has nothing to say to you in terms of what you are playing, the parts that you're doing. The instructor has nothing to say in terms of oh, you're playing this part wrong. It's just okay, well, you can line up with your buddy over here in the line and just listen to each other, talk about interp and all that stuff, and not oh, you still can't play that paradiddle? Well, here we go, let's run paradiddles, right? So how can you take it up to another level, right? So really important. All right, I don't know if this has ever been talked about in any of my video blogs. I don't know if this is ever talked about online at all, the difference between rehearsal and practice, but here it is. It is so vital. It is the thing that every instructor talks about, but does every student adhere to it? Does every student understand it, okay? All right, so you're ready to play some flam drags and flam fives. What can you do to make sure you execute those at a high level? Well, one thing you can do is, assuming that your tap drags and your fives are good and it's proficient, what you could do is use those as a check for said flam drags and flam fives. So for example, you can do 4 tap drags first, then add the little grace note to make a flam drag. So you would do something like this. So what are you doing there? You are first establishing how you want the flam drags to sound by checking it against the tap drags. So make sure the tap drags are the right interp, good timing, good spacing, and then you want to do the same thing when you add one little grace note. Okay, so what tends to happen is, you play some tap drags, and then maybe you play the flam drags and they go And then you would hear the difference, right? You would go, oh, okay, some of those diddles were a little tight or a little too open, and then you use the tap drags as a guide for how you want those flam drags to sound like. Same thing with flam 5. So what will you do for that? 5s, right? So add a grace note. So all together. Okay, so again, you're listening for the 5s, make sure they have a certain interrupt, the right timing you want, and then you want to copy that when you add one little grace note to make a flam 5. Okay, does that make sense? So hopefully you guys enjoyed that, hopefully you got something out of it, and let's get back to the video. Now, the other thing is, like, I understand, like, you know, it could be such an advantage to give music out, like sheet music, for everybody to learn at home, right? And it's like, it's not much of an advantage if you don't actually read the music and learn the music at home. Does that make sense, right? Another disadvantage is, like, and I get this is a huge part of it, is like some people just don't know how to read music that well. I get that, that's a part of it, okay? But what can you do, right, to make sure that whatever it is that you don't understand, you get help to make sure you understand. So, like, if you don't know, like, what a half note rest is, if you don't know what an eighth note is, if you don't know, like, you know, what diddles do, right, what those slashes mean, then it behooves you, all right? It should compel you to ask help, to ask the band director, to ask the drum instructor, to ask your drum captain, to ask somebody who knows, okay, to help you with it so that you can show up to rehearsal prepared, having practice, okay? And you can't use that as an excuse. You can't just be like, well, I don't understand, so you're just gonna sit there and twiddle your thumbs because you don't know. What are you gonna do to be proactive, okay? That is the way of the world. It's like, you can just sit there and, like, well, F it, I don't know what else to do, right? Or are you gonna be proactive and make it happen, right? Learn something you don't know, and then, hey, guess what? You get better because you seeked out some help and you got better because of it. Wow, like, that's such a terrible thing, right? Okay, so if you don't know how to read music, it's okay. Ask for help, okay? Hopefully someday I'll create a product where it's like it'll help people to read music, but there's a lot of resources out there. There's a lot, like, you have resources just within your line to learn how to read music if that is a weakness for you. Does that make sense, right? So it's an advantage if instructors can send music home for you to learn so that you can come to rehearsal having known all the parts, all the beats, but it's not much of an advantage if you don't know how to read or if you don't read it at all. Does that make sense? Okay, so take advantage of the sheet music that is given to you and learn the parts, practice the parts, and then show up to rehearsal prepared, ready to go. Okay, that's my tip for you. That's something that you know, I could pass along to help you out in your to help better your drumline experience. And trust me, you're gonna have a lot more fun when that happens. Okay. Guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. You learned something out of it. Even if, like I said, if you understand this concept already, hopefully you got something out of it and see what you can do to take it up to an even higher level, okay? Do me a huge favor. If you did like this video, hit that like button down below. If you have any questions or comments or like to add to the conversation, leave that in the comments below as well. And if you have not subscribed yet, after I told you to subscribe, make sure you subscribe. It's the red button down below, okay? Now, if you feel like this video could help somebody else out, somebody in your line who doesn't practice at home, who doesn't understand the concept between practicing and rehearsing, share this video with them. I'm sure your instructor would really appreciate it. Okay, so and you know, it's like having me say it, right? It's like another instructor telling you the same stuff. So hopefully by that point, it's not just your instructor saying the same thing over and over again. You have another guy telling you, hey, there's a difference between practice and rehearsal. Hopefully by then, because you hear another voice, it'll stick, okay? So, cool. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Share this video with somebody who you think could benefit from watching this video. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. And what you guys should totally do next is watch more of my videos by clicking over here and subscribing over here. Peace out. Catch you guys on the next video.